Let's get started with this Mat Pilates based workout for low back pain. All you'll need is your mat, your body, and let's get into it. So starting down on the mat in tabletop position, let's go through cat-cow. Start to drop the belly down, take the eye line up, and then push the mat away and really round through your upper back. Again, take a full inhale, belly drops down to the mat, eye line looks up, tailbone goes up, and then round the spine, push the mat away, and think about hollowing out through your chest. Trying to take your time with each one of these reps, really trying to find that nice articulation in the spine as you move here. Now shift from your tabletop down into child's pose, letting the chest fall between the thighs and press down towards the mat. And then shift right back up to your tabletop, slightly pushing your hips forward. Again, the hips fall back into child's pose, roll up into that tabletop, slight push of the hips forward so you can feel that nice release in your lower back. Finding your tabletop one more time, reach one hand to the sky and spiral through your back. Take that same arm, reach under, dropping the shoulder to the mat. We'll do that 3 times. Take a nice big inhale, reach the hand to the sky, rotate through your spine. And then reach under, twisting and dropping that shoulder to the mat. One last time, all the way through. Really trying to find that rotation at the bottom. And then come back through center and switch sides. Same thing, reach up high. Take the arm, reach under, seeing how this side feels. Maybe you have the same amount of rotation, maybe a little less. Trying to move in alignment with your breath. This can be really helpful here. So nice full inhales, full exhales. And trying your best to really find that nice controlled rotation. Now come to lie down onto one of your sides, stacking your hips and your ribs, and then open your top arm away from your body, reaching towards the back side, and then come all the way back to where you started. So you want to try to keep your hips and your ribs stacked here as you rotate. And we're trying to twist from the lumbar spine all the way up through your mid-back into that thoracic and then into the cervical spine. So take your eyesight with you or your eye line with you as you rotate so you can feel that stretch all the way from the bottom to the top of the spine. Same thing on the other side. I'm just going to roll over, stacking my hips and my ribs again, stacking my shoulders, and then opening that arm out towards the side, really feeling that rotation. Come all the way back. So you want to try your best to keep the hips stacked as you reach the arm back. So try not to roll backwards, imagining that you have a wall behind you as you reach the arm out and away from you. That way you can find that really good rotation and hopefully it feels nice on your lower back. Now come to lie flat on your back with your feet and your knees together and windshield the knees from right to left. Now with this one, you can let the hips and the cheek come off of the mat, but try to keep the back of your rib cage down onto the mat. So again, you're forcing that lumbar spine into rotation. We're going to try to take this up a notch by taking one leg and crossing it on top of the other. So I'm going to start with my right leg, I'm going to cross it on top of my left, and then same thing, just let the legs fall over. This creates a little bit more weight and a little bit more stretch into the hip and the low back. But if at any point having the knees crossed or the thighs crossed doesn't feel good for your body, you can always go back to having both feet on the floor. Try the same thing out on the other side. Cross that leg on top. And again, just let the knees fall from left to right. Trying your best to keep the rib cage down as much as you can so you can really get that nice twist in the lumbar spine. Now let's meet standing on the mat. Take a nice big inhale, reach the hands above the head, and then dive forward for roll downs and roll ups. When you get down to the bottom of the mat, bend your knees, drop your hips low, and then curve through your spine to roll all the way back up to standing. Letting the head come up at the very last moment. Again, full inhale, reach, lengthen the spine. Dive forward like you're diving into a pool, seeing that nice big curve in your back on the way down. Bend your knees, drop the hips nice and low, and then starting from the low spine, stack the vertebrae one at a time as you roll all the way back up to standing. One last time together. Big inhale. Exhale, fold like you're curving over a barrel or a beach ball. Bend your knees, let the hips fall low, and then roll all the way up through your spine. Coming back down to the mat into a mermaid sit, so one knee in front and the other leg back behind you. You'll reach the top arm up and over to the side, and then reverse in the opposite direction, trying to keep your hips down as much as you can onto the mat. Right? That's going to force you into a bigger stretch through the lats, through the back of the hip, which is what we want for that low back pain and that low back flexibility. So just alternating from side to side. We'll do about 3 here on each side. Trying to reach that top arm away from you, keeping the hip pressed down. One last time. Now reach away from the opposite leg. Top arm goes up to the sky. And then take that arm and thread under the opposite arm. Noticing how, again, we're bringing some rotation back into our movement. Super important for that low back pain, that low back stiffness. We want to be able to rotate the spine a lot. Okay. So after your third one, you'll come all the way back up and we'll switch the knees and go to the other side. Exact same thing, taking that mermaid stretch, leaning up and over to one side, coming back up through center and then up and over to that other side. And again, we're repeating 3 reps or 3 times on each side. Really taking your time. Trying to feel connected to your breath as you move here, right? Noticing that this, even though we call it a workout, right? It's really about mobility. It's about lengthening the muscles. It's about stretch. So your breath is really going to help with that. So take your time. Take one last one, reach over the top of the head, away from that opposite leg, and then thread under. So reaching down and underneath the opposite arm and back up towards the sky. And we'll do 2 more of those. See if you can keep that back hip down. For me, this is my left hip. So I'm forcing the back of my hip to stretch as I reach and twist under. Good. Now let's come into side bend. So you're going to bring one knee down onto the mat and the opposite foot in front, and it will be bent. Opposite hand reaches out. You'll reach up and over, taking a side bend stretch, and then coming right back down to where you started. So you're not necessarily pushing into a side plank, but you're pushing into a side bend or a side reach. So I'm lifting up my left hip here away from the mat as I reach up and over the top of my head. Try to pause with every rep. So every time you reach the arm and the leg long, pause and then right back down. We'll try the same thing on the other side for about 5 reps. Up and over, lengthen from the toe to the hand, all the way back down. While this is a stretch laterally, right, through the side of your body, this also has some gentle strengthening on the obliques, which we need as well for that low back pains, right? We want to strengthen around the corset muscles, the muscles that run through our midline, through our center. And part of those muscles are your obliques. Once you finish out your last one, you'll come seated on the mat, knees bent, feet flat, and hands behind your hamstrings. Tuck and curl your pelvis. You're going to roll back onto the mat and then pull with your hands as you pull your chest toward your thighs and sit up tall in your spine. So again, I'm going to tuck my tail like I'm trying to put the back of my waistband down onto the mat, curve and roll back, and then pull with my arms like I'm pulling my chest to my thighs. So when you get back into that shape at the back, you want to feel this kind of pulling sensation with the arms. So you feel a nice stretch through the upper back, right? Through that thoracic spine, between the shoulder blades. So let your hands really pull, like you're trying to pull the shoulder blades apart, and then roll back up through the spine. Let's try one more. Really tuck and curve. Scoop, take a big exhale. Roll all the way back up. Whew. Now lie all the way down onto the mat for some chest lifts. Feet flat, lying all the way down, hands behind your head. You'll start to curl your chest to your thighs and then lower back down towards the mat. I'm keeping my chin slightly tucked to my chest. And I'm thinking about trying to pull my shoulder blades off the mat and then lower back down. So really trying to contract into the abdominals. Again, just a couple of these, maybe 5 to 6 reps. Then we'll start to add some rotation. So after this next one, when you lift up, you'll twist opposite knee to elbow across the body, lower back down, and then switch to the other side. Again, trying to rotate and twist, right, which we've been exploring a lot here through a lot of our mobility work and our stretches. And now we're bringing a little bit of core work into this. We're strengthening the abdominals, which helps support our back, especially the low back, while also bringing in some rotation, some side-to-side work. Let's take about one more to each side, so maybe one more to the right, and then one more to the left. And we'll come lying all the way down onto the mat. Extend one leg long, start to kick that leg up towards the sky, and lower right back down. So we're going into a dynamic hamstring stretch. This also still has some core work involved with it. So as I'm lifting my leg, I'm trying to scoop my abdominals down and in. Now on the next one, lift the leg up towards the ceiling, bend the knee in, and then reach it out like you're riding a big bicycle. And let's do about 3 or 4 of those. Really trying to circle that leg from the hip, from the knee, and then reverse the direction. So now I'm pulling in towards my chest, extending the leg long, stretching the hamstring, and then pulling back up and out. After 3 or 4 of those, we'll do the same thing on the other side. So opposite leg extends out, we kick it up and back down. You could play around here with adding a little bit of footwork. So maybe point your toe on the way up, flex it on the way down if that feels good for your ankles. After about your third one, you'll start to go into that bicycle again. Up, push through. And then again, after about 3 or 4, we will reverse, pull in towards you, extend, and reach. Really trying to extend that leg long to the ceiling so you get a nice hamstring stretch. After your third one, bring your feet down onto the mat, heels together, toes apart, into a Pilates V shape, knees are open. And let's go through some frog bridges. We'll do about 6 to 8 here. Lifting the hips up towards the ceiling, squeezing in the glutes, and then lowering back down. So we're really trying to wake up and engage your posterior chain, right? The back side of the body. So we want the glutes, the hamstrings firing here. Maybe on your last one, you lift the hands up and you find a little bit of balance just to hold. And then roll down through the spine and plant the hips. Now our last one here together, we'll meet back on our tabletop for some bird dog to finish. Opposite arm, opposite leg lifts. Pull the knee in towards the elbow, round your spine, and then reach back out to that long line from toe to fingertips. So I'm thinking about pulling my arm and leg in towards my midline, towards my belly button, curving like I'm doing some reverse abdominals, and then extending back out and finding some balance. Bird dog is great for challenging balance, helping you find some stability in your hips while strengthening your core and your back. So these are all things that we need for some lower back help. After about 4 or 5 reps on one side, you'll switch and do the exact same thing on the other side, noticing if you feel a little bit more unstable on this side. After you finish out your last one, that is it. Thanks so much for joining me on the mat, you guys. Feel free to watch this video again for more help. See you next time.